we'll see what happens with that. But I want to say that we have a great show this evening. We have a great show every evening. I am so pleased to have this lady on our show tonight. Our guest grew up in London. She has been writing since 2006, when her comedy play Sound Advice was performed by CP Theatre Productions in London. In 2007, she published in the London paper and in the British Neuroscience Association Summer Bulletin. In 2010, she wrote for thefrisky.com. I'm getting tongue twisted tonight. An online magazine who commissioned her after noticing her humorous blog, Crazy in a Crazy World. Our guest tonight, Dr. Charbit, holds a PhD in neuroscience from the University College in London. I am so pleased to welcome her to the show today, Dr. Annabelle Charbit. How are you?
Oh, hi. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope I gave your title the right recognition. I still can't talk. I keep getting tongue twisted.
Oh, no. It happens.
Yeah. How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, you're from London, so where do you make your home out of nowadays?
Well, right now it's New York.
Wow. Yeah, I've always wanted to visit New York. I've actually flown into New York on a 2-hour layover, but I was never able to leave the airport. So, do you visit London very often?
Oh yes, my whole family's there, so I travel there quite a lot. It's convenient from New York.
And that must really be interesting. I've always wanted to travel overseas, and London and everywhere, London, Paris, anywhere up in that area. I mean, it seems beautiful. I would love to go up all everywhere, I should say.
London's beautiful. You'll like it.
Yeah, I'm sure I would. I'd love to go anywhere outside of Georgia, to be quite honest with you.
Oh.
Dr. Charbit, I thank you so much for joining me. It is such a pleasure to have you on, and you have a novel out right now. It's called A Life Lived Ridiculously. This is a very interesting book. I found it very interesting, and I really recommend anyone out there to pick it up. It really caught my attention when I first saw the title of it. I was like, wow, I wonder what this is about, and I saw it's kind of about a person with OCD meets a sociopath. And that even made me more intrigued, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to read this book. What really inspired you to write this book? What went into it?
Well, I was looking to write a story about people with disordered thinking. And my aim was, I was interested, OCD is particularly interesting because a lot of people suffer in silence from it, and now it's gaining more and more recognition, actually, as celebrities sort of come out and say they have it. But it's still a very sort of painful inner world to have OCD. And specifically, I wanted to highlight how sociopaths prey on vulnerable individuals. So in A Life Lived Ridiculously, we have a woman who's going through a vulnerable moment in her life, and she becomes preyed on by a sociopath. And it's actually an important warning for all of us, especially the younger generation, our children, when they start dating, to really know what a sociopath is and that they're out there. I certainly didn't know the meaning of the word until all that recently, and it's important that everybody knows what it is.
Right. How much of this book, came from your own personal experiences yourself or someone you knew? Did it take a lot of time to write this, or did you experience so much yourself that this was very easy for you?
Well, the sociopath angle, actually, it's more with hindsight. I certainly have encountered at least one sociopath in my life. Luckily, I was not so unlucky as to be completely taken in by them, conned, robbed, have my life destroyed. None of those terrible things happened, but it certainly woke me up to the fact that terrible things could have happened. And then I started doing some digging and reading other people's stories and really realized what a phenomenon this is. especially apparently 1 in 25 people falls into the category of sociopaths, and most of these people are not in jail, and they never commit violent crimes. They're just con men, con artists, con men, women.
And you say that 1 in 25, and there are so many con artists that aren't caught. But what exactly is a sociopath?
It's somebody who feels no remorse, empathy, no normal human attachments the way we do. They're not bound by the same moral codes that bind us. So effectively, they can do anything they want, which sounds great, but it's actually, for them, a very lonely and boring existence. Their main aim in life is to dominate.
Can I interject something?
No, Eric, go ahead.
Sure.
Yes, I just wanted to say, you described to a T what 90% of the people are at the car dealership. I worked at the car dealership for about 3.5 months, and those sales guys working the lot are exactly that. They will go up, and the more they lie, the more they sell the cars, and that's exactly what they are. They in fact, a couple of them were ex-convicts, but the ones that lied the most, that pathologically lied without even, batting an eyelash, they definitely were described exactly how you were saying what a sociopath is. So that's where, if you want to do some studying on them, that's where you would go to get them.
That's where you'll find. Well, I suppose it's a job that attracts that kind of individual.
Yeah. It definitely is. Now, what is the difference? And you say a sociopath constantly lies and that kind of thing. And I hope this makes sense to me asking, but what is the difference between someone just being a habitual liar, like Eric said, and just being a straight out sociopath? Is there a big difference between that?
Well, sociopaths. They have to have a number of traits. I mean, they don't have to have all of them, but they certainly have to cover a few. So you've got the grandiose sense of self-worth. This is additional to the pathological lying. The pathological lying is a big thing with sociopaths. But, you've got the other things. You've got the proneness to boredom, the fact that they're manipulative, they lack remorse and guilt, they have a very limited range of feelings, so they're very, very emotional poverty. Obviously there's callousness, but many of them lead a parasitic lifestyle. So this is your typical con artist who'll be living off whoever they happen.
George Bush and Barack Obama, maybe even Tony Blair.
Well, they do say that to be a politician, you probably, if you want to really do that job and enjoy it, you have to be a sociopath. Often sociopaths, if they're intelligent, will actually reach great heights in their careers. So some jobs are perfect for sociopaths.
Absolutely.
Politics is one of them.
I'd like to see Barack Obama on the big screen, at the next movie, actually, but rather than being our president. But I guess that's the next best thing, is to laugh at him while he's reading his teleprompter and lying to him.
Like I said, your book of life lived ridiculously is something that, and I know that's such a long word, and I've never been able to say that word, ridiculous. Well, let's move on. Take us through this book and what the characters are like in this book.
So Maxine is the woman who has OCD. So she's very anxious, locked up in her own world, trying to hide the fact that she has OCD, trying to act normal so that she can function in her job, she can function with her family. Her family is very overbearing. They're always in her face, in her business, telling her that they don't think she's normal, why is she not married yet, all these things. And she comes from a family who, they're bullies. And so she has to hide from them that she has OCD, or throughout the novel, actually, she's still figuring out that whether or not it's OCD. She just has to hide from them that she has strange thoughts, strange symptoms, and try to pass for normal. So her journey is actually quite interesting as she sort of goes from one mad experience to the next. And then Sam walks into her life, and he's the sociopath. He's very cold, he's callous, he has wonderful sob stories. He really sucks her in, and magically, just like that, she's so sucked into his world that she feels she has OCD symptoms lessen, which just makes her even more attached to him, because it's like he's her magic cure. But what's he doing is he's actually causing her anxiety by, well, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but he's he's perpetrating his scam, and without revealing anything, and all of this is causing her terrible anxiety. And by the time she realizes, she has to realize that actually she's being conned, she's being scammed, and really face up to her fears. So it's a really her journey, and in her fight for her sanity and for justice, because Sam is obviously a horrible individual.
Right. That absolutely sounds fantastic. And now, have you had the opportunity to speak with anyone about possibility of making a movie out of this?
I have not done that yet. Are you offering?
Well, if I had the connections, I promise you, I would definitely I definitely talk to you about it. I do actually know a few producers and things like that. I would love to pass along your information to them. So I think this is wonderful, and I cannot wait to find out more about it. Now, being a sociopath, could you relate someone to being a sociopath to someone that is bipolar or with multiple personalities, or does that just kind of go into each other?
I think that the two conditions are unrelated. Someone who's bipolar, they're experiencing intense emotions. Their emotions are out of control. But they're actually, I've met quite a few bipolar people in my time, and they're very good people. They just really, people in a lot of pain, a tremendous amount of pain. They have nothing to do with sociopaths. Sociopaths are, these people have very few feelings, they're very driven, very focused on their goal, and they cannot form any emotional connections with other people.
So and I'm glad you said that. And so being bipolar is something that obviously that you can take medicine for, but being a sociopath, there's really no treatment for it, is there?
Well, at the moment, they say that most of the personality disorders, including sociopathy, is very hard. There's no medication, certainly. Therapy can perhaps help in some cases, but it's very, to get a sociopath to admit that they're a sociopath, that would be the first challenge. And since they don't know any other way to be, because they've always been that way, it's quite hard for them to even realize that actually the way they experience the world is perhaps not the way other people experience the world. They look at us sort of morally normal individuals, and they probably think we're just fools. We're crazy to have all this empathy and these boundaries and to play by the rules. They think we're insane. So that would be the challenge, really getting them to see that the way they think isn't really typical.
Right, and it kind of sounds even like someone on drugs or alcohol trying to convince them that they need to be better and they need to get off drugs or alcohol, and they don't agree with you, and they just won't get help for themselves. That sounds, yeah. Now, being a sociopath as well, how scary is it for people doing online dating? Because once you talk online, and you may talk on the telephone and things like that, you're going to eventually meet, and hopefully these people meet in a safe place instead of just having them to come to their house. How scared should these people be about meeting these people online, and what can they do to recognize this in these people?
I think with online dating, you definitely have to be